Rapids. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening and welcome to episode 359 of Picks and Ponies right here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I am your proud host, Howard Kravitz, back from my wonderful trip to Europe where I visited 3 racetracks. It was a blast, but I'm very happy to be back as the gang is all here. Pete and Paul will be joining me shortly. And what a show we have tonight, because we have 2 main topics. First of all, an incredible stakes-laden filled card this Saturday at Churchill Downs. It is Stephen Foster Day. It's their closing weekend. They have 6 stakes. We're going to be talking about all 6 of them here, of which 5 are, of course, in the late pick 5. And then Emily Gullickson from Hawthorne Racecourse will be here because it is a very exciting weekend at Hawthorne. They have 2 contests for the NHC Saturday and Sunday, and then a special contest invite only on Sunday, which yours truly has been fortunate enough to be invited to. 60 of the top live money contest players in the country will be competing for cash and prizes this Sunday, and we'll be talking about that with Emily along with the final mandatory race of the day. And I also want to be very proud to announce, I'll mention this a few times, but the Hawthorne invite, which contest, which starts Sunday at, I believe, 1:30 Central Time, will be shown right here live on the HHH Racing Podcast YouTube channel. It's also going to be on other YouTube channels, but if you want to watch live the Hawthorne invite on Sunday, come right here. I believe it starts at 2:30 Eastern. We will get confirmation on that, but we will be covering that live. It's going to be very exciting. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button on the bottom right hand side of the screen. We are very, very close to 4,000 subscribers. We really need your help, so please hit that subscribe button, smash the like button below the video player, and at the top right hand corner also hit that notification bell so that you know when new content will arise. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. The Power Pick still going strong. My co-host did a great job while I was away covering. This week, we've got Churchill and Woodbine, and also Saratoga and Del Mar are not far away. We have some very, very exciting news about special power pick opportunities for the 2 biggest meets of the summer coming up. Stay tuned next week for that information. Great website, hhhracingpodcast.com. Look at Matt Miller's new book, A Better Way of Thinking, which you can get the audio version, the e version, the hard copy version at a betterwayofThinking.com as well. All right, let me bring in my fantastic co-host right now. First, enjoying a wonderful early summer day in his hometown from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the Saratoga Special, Mr. Paul Halloran, and from the East Coast of Maryland, former host of Picks and Ponies, at least for a few weeks, but now he's probably in, I think what he'd say is maybe a little more comfortable or easier position as one of our wonderful co-hosts, Mr. Pete Visco. Guys, how we doing?
What's up, gentlemen?
Hey, Pete.
Hey,
Good.
look,
Good
I
to
like
see
the view outside, Paul. It's beautiful.
Hey, we get about 6 good weather days a year here in
Yeah.
Boston, so I'm going to take advantage of one of them.
I like it.
It's like about 150 last week, and it's down into the 80s, and it's actually going in the 50s. Only us peak. We can go from 100 last week. It's going to be in the high 50s overnight tonight.
Just lovely wow. Weather in that town. Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, Paul, are we having a weather conversation? I thought that was illegal on the show.
Yeah, it is. Well,
okay.
it is. I don't have to worry about being off the turf. I'm on my deck. I'm not going to be off the deck unless the wind blows me away.
No, it wasn't specific to the races, right? So it's okay to talk about the weather in that situation. We got a bunch of people in the chat, guys, very quickly. TC Markham already wants to get to the Stephen Foster. He thinks this Disarm versus First Mission. I think he's referring to the thumbnail where I said it was Skippy versus First Mission, but those are the 2 morning line favorites. That's why I did that. Tom Espinoza is here. What's up, Tom? TC also wants to go to the Hawthorne contest on Saturday. TC, you can do that. You just have to be in the Chicago area. You have to be at the OTBs for the Hawthorne contest Saturday or Sunday. Paul Conlin's here. Can't wait to see everyone at Saratoga for the Jim Dandy. Yes, Paul, I will be there. Matt Miller will be there. Patrick Kunzel will be there. Breaking news, I believe Noah Maher will be making his first visit ever to Saratoga as well. He's working on that. And Paul will be there the Sunday, the day after the Jim Dandy. Am I correct about that, Paul?
Well, that's the plan. But if there's such esteemed people there on Saturday, I mean, who says I might not show up a day early?
Well, and I lost in the shuffle unintentionally. Also making appearance, Jim Pilars, I believe, will be there as well Saturday and Sunday. Paul, I think you knew that though. So yeah.
Anyone, Pete? You know any good divorce attorneys, Pete?
I'm sure we can find you one. I'm sure.
Maybe as a sponsor, we could do a trade.
Yeah, you might be living on the deck out there soon. Is the way.
No,
I'll
be at the Oklahoma, Pete. I'll just live right over at the Oklahoma, watching them train every morning.
Just cover up with some hay. You'll be fine. No problem.
Guys, that's very exciting. We'll talk about Del Mar and Saratoga. That's coming up pretty soon. 2 weeks, Paul. Hard to believe. 2 weeks to Saratoga. It's very exciting. Del Mar not soon after that. Guys, we got a bunch of things to talk about. I think we just jump right in. The Churchill card, fantastic. And I know we don't talk about the W word, so I won't. Let's just say it's going to be hot Saturday in Kentucky. So that should have really no effect on anything in particular, but just want to mention, it looks like it's going to be the mid-90s at Churchill on Saturday, but it doesn't look like there's going to be rain. So it should be all good. Guys, let me go ahead and take the banner off. We're going to start very quickly talking about the first race, the first stake race, I should say, which is not a portion of the late pick 5. And as I realized, I made a little bit of not a host fail, but I got to get the entries up here. I'll tell you what, let's just do this. Let me just go ahead and bring up the PPs instead. It's the Wise Dan. I'm going to bring those up on screen right now. The Wise Dan is outside of the pick 5. Like I said, it's a small field. It's a nice turf race. Wise Dan, by the way, Morton Fink, correct, Paul? Owner, I believe. What a horse that was, Pete and Paul. Wow.
It was a great
Johnny V was interviewed. Johnny V rode in Ireland yesterday, and he was interviewed, a lengthy interview, and he listed Wise Dan as the best horse he's ever ridden.
Wow.
So there.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Crazy coming from him. He's had some.
Imagine that.
No kidding,
and
Pete.
He based it on, that he won stakes. He won on dirt. He won on, real dirt, fake dirt, and turf.
Yes.
That's what Johnny V said. It caught my attention as well.
Really, really good. More of a miler, I would say. But anyway, this is the mile 16th, grade 2. I'm just going to scroll down the field because I didn't bring it up through the Equibase, guys. Let me go full screen. To me, it's sort of a 3-horse race. And interesting enough, Pete, I felt like they all got perfect trips last time. So it's going to be very interesting to see. Strong Tide's a long shot, but Ottoman Fleet's going to be the favorite in this race, is the morning line favorite with Flavian for Godolphin, who won the Arlington grade 3 last time, beating Chase the Crown, who frankly I thought might have run better, Pete. I'd love to hear your and Paul's opinion, because he was a little bit goofy in the stretch and closed and made up more ground. And then you've got Johnny's Fireball, and the other main threat to me is Win for the Money, who absolutely freaked last time, first time off the layoff for Cassie at Gulfstream in a very good and fast race. 9-2, and Exalted, we don't want to sleep on him, although I'm not sure he's good enough, but should have the lead. It's an interesting race. What are your thoughts here, Pete, and the Wise Dan?
Yeah, it's a tough one. So if you look at I know you'll show it, if you can look at the time form, it's one of those where you're like, at least as far as time form is concerned, is the 6 Exalted just going to get away and make it difficult? But the thing I don't necessarily agree with is Ottoman Fleet being a little further back in that picture there. I thought the thing I liked about Ottoman Fleet last time was just that was able to sit. Like you said, it was a pretty perfect trip, but he was able to sort of make his own trip, and he was able to lay a little closer. When he was here in 23, he was coming from a lot further back. The last 2 races since in 24, he's been a lot closer, and I think he's good enough to where he can be closer, and I think that's what maybe gives him the advantage on, say, Chasing the Crown, only because maybe he just gets to jump again on Chasing the Crown. And if he does, he's probably a hard horse to run down. But we'll talk about win for the money. He's just one of those who, when you see a horse come back off a layoff, and 4 to 5 isn't always a huge improvement, but sometimes it is. What if he's just really good all of a sudden, and then you just don't know it yet, and you're catching him as like the third choice in a race where maybe he's just really good, and we're just not used to him being that good yet.
That's sort of what I thought, Pete. I mean, he got a great trip, and this is obviously a much tougher field, but he did it. We've talked about this in the show many times, and something you bring up a lot, Pete. You can only beat who you're beating. I mean, he did it as well as possible. And Paul, maybe this is just a new horse, and I don't think he's that far off these if he runs his best race. Can he run this again? I don't know, but I mean, this was super impressive.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I think I set my script to Pete ahead of time because he said exactly what I was about to say about Autumn and Fleet. I thought the difference last time was Pratt had, it wasn't a huge difference, Pete, but he had him just closer enough to make the difference, because I think we talked about that race. We call it the A race run by the A-holes. The difference in that race, going into that race, he won the first time over here, but then third in the Manhattan at 2-1, and no real excuse in the Fort Marcy. So I think there was a little discussion of, well, how good is he? But maybe the tell was, speaking of Noah Mahar, naval powers, him showing up in the company lines back home and how he's exploded over here. But
Measured Time came over and looked really good too. Yeah,
he did.
Yeah.
Sorry.
This horse has done nothing wrong, Paul, but
yeah,
for me, I mean, I'm going to try to beat him, but
1-1. I agree. Yeah.
He's going to be 4 to 5. Does he really tower over these other two? I mean, not really.
And I was going to go to win for the money again, Pete.
I agree.
Just because of price, Jose Ortiz is riding as well as anyone at Churchill. Kentucky is obviously agreeing with him. He's just a shade under 20%. Coming off that race, you said is it's a career best buyer, but he does have a work at Churchill. So, yeah, I think value-wise, if I were trying to beat the two, I'd be looking at the 5. And, the 6 is a little bit of an enigma to me because talk about doing nothing wrong. I mean, since getting on the turf, 4 wins and a second, and Du Jour is a real turf horse out there. The only thing is, I do have this, mental block about, we call it, what is it, the anti-Horace Greeley? Go east, go east, young horse. Not that, but other than that, if those company lines were at Keeneland or Aqueduct or, Gulfstream or Woodbine, this horse might be a handful, and you probably get close to that 4 to 1. So there will be value to beat two things. A, you got to beat him, and B, you got to pick the right one.
Peter Urton has a couple rough stats when he leaves. Coming to Churchill, he's not so good, and he has a graded stakes. I have him as 0 for 12 outside of California, basically. I guess the question, though, because this does kick off the 20-cent Derby City, I think it's called Pick 6.
Yeah.
So you have to figure out if you want to play that, and you're just playing, say, a caveman. Do you single Autumn and Fleet? Do you go too deep? You don't want to go too deep if you're including – whatever Autumn and Fleet's going to be, even money 4 to 5. You can't go too deep, but you don't want to bring in 3-4 horses. Then it starts getting way too pricey when you're doing a pick 6. So that makes it's a tough race to kick it off, depending on how you feel about Autumn and Fleet, I guess.
I agree, and we're not going to watch the replay because Paul could tell us why, but we'll wait for the rant for that. Guys, Chasing the Crown, we're going to move on, but watch the replay. He was a little bit goofy in the stretch. He was making up ground on Autumn and Fleet. It's not like Autumn and Fleet was, just sort of sitting and not being asked. I mean, Chasing the Crown ran last time. We all know when Maker gets his horses good, they get really good. I don't think it's just Autumn and Fleet. I guess everyone can make their own decisions, of course. You could certainly single Autumn and Fleet to start the Derby 6, Pete, and go for it. I wouldn't blame anyone for doing it. But it just feels like he doesn't really tower over this field at all, and there's prices to be had. So very interesting race, guys, to start the stakes laden portion of the Stephen Foster Day card. Let's start with the pick. Let's go to the pick 5, guys. This is a serious pick 5. It's a good pick 5. There's great horses everywhere. I personally thought the turf races were very, very difficult. And the 3 dirt races, I won't say formful, but I think more formful or more obvious, I guess. Now that, I say that, you guys know what's going to happen. There'll be bomb, bomb, bomb in the dirt races, and the turf races will be 2 favorites. But guys, let's go ahead and go right to race 8 right now. Race 8 kicks off the late pick 5. It starts the Fleur de Lis, one of the better older filly and mare races of the year. It's a grade 2, $500,000, mile and 1/8. Smaller field this year of 6. Big Moorline favorite, number 4, Scylla, for Mott and Castellano, who I loved last time. You guys liked her also last time, not quite as much as I did. I think she won. This may be a tougher spot depending on how people feel. Let's go ahead to our picks right now, coming up at the bottom of the screen. And there they are. I'm going 4-5-2. Pete's going 4-6-1. And Paul's going 6-2-4. Pete, let's start with you and I. You and I are both going to go back with Scylla. She paired up her buyer tops. Actually, it's the 3rd time she's had 93. She's tactical. She's getting really good. She beat Kajira easily last time. I got a feeling this is going to be tougher than last time, though.
Yeah, it's a weird one because I didn't like her as much. I liked Kajira last time, and so I look at this horse, and for some reason I always want to go against her, and it doesn't really work all that well generally. But in this race, it was the same. But then as I was looking at the other ones, I'm like, she's just really tough, and she works out. In last race, she sat really close. She sat right off the lead, 2 back. She came from further back against horses she was just much better than. She's just a really good horse who's in really great form. She's stretching out to the 9 furlongs for the first time, but she's out of Tappen, out of closed hatches. That shouldn't be an issue. She seems to get stronger down the lane necessarily. So as I'm looking at her going, what the hell am I trying to do? The horse that I would try and beat her with first would probably be Zagira, only because I really liked that horse last year. But she just maybe isn't the same horse. And I'll let Paul talk about her because he has her on top. But I think you're sort of reaching and you're hoping if you're picking her on top. And we're going to see if that's what Paul's idea is, hoping that she can regain that form from last year. But Scylla just seems to be so sharp right now. She's just really tough to go against.
She is. Paul Kajira is 3rd time in the form cycle. I guess the question is, has she been exposed by her class level, or is she just rounding into form and ready to win? Obviously, you feel like it's the latter rather than the former.
Well, I think she's trending to 143 buyer because she went up 55 last time. And if she goes up 55 again, it would be 143, Mr. Math Teacher.
Wow.
And I don't know, Pete, but I think a 143 would win this.
I think it'd be close, but I think she maybe by a nose she'd get it if she runs.
I seem to pick this horse all the time, and when I went through the PPs the first time, Howard, I looked. I said, no, I'm not getting caught there again. But I really think she might be okay with race flow here. I mean, I'm not. Julian Leperoux's a great guy. I'm not his biggest fan, as a jockey, but he has. He has ridden this horse well. Absolutely, Howard, a valid point you make about, 0 for 2 in 2024 after the 6-month layoff. But, if you're trying to beat a favorite, Howard, I have to revert to the late greatest Javi Pack with Scylla going 1 mile and 1/8. First time. Now you look at it, you say,
yeah,
it shouldn't make a difference. It's only another 1/8. She's drawing away, but somehow that stuff does seem to matter more often than it doesn't matter. I agree with you 100%, Howard, that even if she wins, I don't think it will be with the ease with which she won last time. Look, I'm thinking. Yeah, Pete. Am I hoping Zagira, whose name I can better, I just can't pronounce her damn name.
I think it's a hard. It's like a K. I think it's Kajira, but anyway, that's all right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that pronunciation, so I will not use it.
Hey, Paul, how about and Pete? How about the babies of Tappen and closed hatches? You've got Tacitus, Scylla, Batten Down. They're all full brothers and sisters. I mean, wow. What a mom and dad to have if you're a horse, huh?
No kidding, huh? Yeah.
Awesome.
So I think that if you're going to try to beat Scylla, in my opinion, whatever you call her is the most logical one. As I
Okay.
say, I think it's good position. I think race flow could be okay. And, she did, joking about the buyer, but, she just obviously improved from the first start off the layoff. So maybe the third in the form cycle will make a difference, Howard. And, this is a horse who hasn't been over 5-2 in, 10 months, who might be 9-2, 4-1, 5-1 in this race. So
No, it's an excellent point. I almost picked a Colt on top, guys. I really like this horse a lot in this spot. I really do, for a lot of reasons. And we got 4 of the races to cover. I'm going to be very brief here. It feels to me, Pete, like there's quite a bit of early speed in this race. And I say that I don't think there's like speed balls, but it feels like most of the field wants to be forward. And this is really the only one that can really close from deeper. Second off the layoff, that last race was a complete prep for this. It's IRAD, so you're going to have to pay the IRAD tax. The social probably more like 9-2. I am very, very fascinated in a Colt, probably in the same way that, Paul might be fascinated with Shotgun Hottie or even like Free Like a Girl. I just feel like the fuzzy in here for me is a Colt. I'm expecting her to run a big race Saturday, guys. Your thoughts on a Colt or the other two, one or first or second horse, and we'll move on.
Okay, Paul.
Yeah, well, Howard, it's funny. I like a Colt here. She doesn't appear in my top 3, but I gave her a long look and will certainly be using her in the pick 5, perhaps as a B, just a B,
Just a B,
just a B.
B as in a Colt.
No, yeah. We covered that while you were away.
Yeah. Oh no, I heard it. Don't worry about that.
I know. I'm sure. I hope you did.
I still have egg on my face from that one.
I think I do. I think it's valid. I also, Howard, I think Shotgun Hottie, and obviously in a race that wasn't the toughest field, boy, though, she ran her career best, and she really ran in that race. It's this distance, so there's another horse in that 4 to 5-1 range that, you don't want to get beat by. So it's tough. Here's another, these races are poster children for not playing cavemen, right? Because you don't want to give Shotgun Hottie the same weight as Scylla, for example, but you want to have Shotgun Hottie on the ticket. I know I certainly do.
Pete, final thoughts on either of the horses we just mentioned, and we got to move on.
No, I agree. The only one I'll mention, I like the one Free Like a Girl a bit. Just lost the last 2 to Adair Manor and Idiomatic. So I think those 2 are maybe better, or most likely better than what's in here. So it could just be that she was just chasing better horses, and now she's going to get a decent rail trip. I just think it's a really good race, top to bottom, unless Scylla's just better and just beats everybody again. I think that's where you have to figure out.
It's a fun race, and I look forward to all these horses losing to Idiomatic or someone else in the Breeders' Cup. But these are like grade 1.5 horses. You know what I mean? Like these are really nice older fillies, maybe not the top ones. Let's go to race 9, guys. This is wow. I thought this race was extremely difficult. Let me go and bring it up on the screen right now. It's the American Derby, $250,000, of course, on the turf. I think the rails are going to be down, I'm assuming, guys, just to let you know. So you might want to be on the inside part. I wish we had longer to talk about it, but they've had the rails out for quite a bit at Churchill. I've been watching the races. Actually, they're running as we speak here on Thursday night. And because it's getting hotter, guys, that turf is starting to look a little bit, a little shaky. There's some brown spots. But the inner, like 3 or 4 paths, guys, are pristine. You might want to be on the inside. It's something to pay attention to on the early part of the card. I just want to mention that. But anyway, American Derby, field of 8, nice field, wide open. Moorline favorite is the number 1 Green Light for Rudy Brissett and Jose Ortiz, who's having fantastic meet as he moved his tack to Kentucky, but he'll be moving it back to upstate New York, of course, for the Saratoga meet. Let's show the picks on the screen. I'm going 6-7-1. Pete is going 7-8-1, and Paul is going 7-5-4. So Pete and Paul, you're simpatico. Paul, let you go first. No pun intended. First World War. What a ride by Dettori last time at Penn National. He's gonna have to give him her another good ride. Give him another good ride because this is a wide open race. I have a feeling Mr. Dettori will be more forward in this race, Paul. At least that's what I'm hoping, to give him the best shot, because there's not a lot of early speed in here.
No, I would agree with that, which is why, that might explain why the 1 is 3-1 morning line. This is an example of, you do have to see how the betting's going, because,
Yeah.
I certainly think the 1 could be real good coming off that, ridiculously easy maiden win. But I got to tell you, in a race like this, do I want that horse as the favorite? No bueno, to quote my great uncle Howard. No
Well, I have
bueno.
strong opinions on the 1. I'll share it later, but yeah, go ahead, Paul.
I don't, again, and I the 1 can beat me at 5-2. I don't want him to beat me at 5-1, but he can beat me at 5-2. And some people say, well, you get beat, you get beat. But obviously, you get into now, who would you use other than him, and down the line. But yeah, I thought I had Dettori in that race. He needed every bit of that mile at Penn National. I wasn't even sure he got up, to be honest with you. Brendan Walsh is really good at that. Brendan Walsh is one of those guys that if you see a race that you say, maybe you draw a line through that, his horses tend to run pretty well after those draw a line through races, which obviously the Transylvania was. So I don't think you'll get 4-1 with Dettori, by the way, but I thought it was a good option. And I agree, Howard. The races before that, he was much more forward than the last 2. So I would think that Dettori will be a tad more aggressive here. But yeah, tough race. I think the 8, as someone mentioned in the chat, the 8's a real player as well.
Yeah, that was someone, TC Markham wants a single. Pete, I'll let you talk about the 8 because you've got him second. I looked in really closely. I thought his last win was really good. My concern, he's coming back pretty quickly and he's got an outside post, but it's not like there's any killers in here. You got Brilliant Birdie second. Any thoughts on the 2 outside horses?
No, I really like First World Wars just as a horse. I think that was one of those ones that's a turf horse, should be on the turf, and got a little dirt happy and still ran okay in those dirt races. But I just think is a really good horse, and you can maybe make the explanation that the off turf or the wet turf at Keeneland threw him off 2 back. Brilliant Birdie's just one I just looked at. I thought, with a couple of these, you don't know what they are yet, but I think this one is improving steadily. I liked the last 2 races, came home in like 23, low 23 and change in that last one, excuse me, flew home basically. I think could be sitting sort of mid-pack. It's not a big field, so I think could work out. I really like that. And on paper or on visually, I thought it was pretty impressive when you actually watched. I watched the replay just because I didn't remember the horse that much I don't think I had seen the races live. So I wanted to watch the replays. I just thought can get a decent trip, can maybe sit a little bit closer, picks up Hernandez again, who had ridden him before, and has been sort of pretty hot lately. So I just think this is a good horse that you're going to get. If you can get 8-1 on a horse that's on the upswing like this, and you see from just a time form standpoint, those time forms are sort of jumping up and getting in the mix with these other horses, even ahead of what Beyer is giving it. I think this horse is just on the improve, could get a really good trip. And I agree with you. Not a world-beating field, 2 for 2 at Churchill, loves the track. I think there's a lot to like about this one.
I agree. I'm one of the very soft pick guys, sort of similar to the 8 in respect that I really like the visual here. I realize Depiction might be up against it, but pace-wise here. But go watch the replay of Depiction's win. Irad Ortiz made a very wide, sustained early move, and he was able to keep going. Now, maybe this, that field obviously is not as good as this one, blah, blah, blah. But if Rosario is aggressive, I don't see any reason why he can't come over the top of this field. No one blows me away here. I'm going to get a price with Rosario, who I hope keeps this horse in the clear on the outside. I said the rails are going to be down, which in theory will help closers because there's more track, like obviously, but I don't know. I like the visual from Depiction, guys, and maybe he's getting better. And by the way, the other Cherie DeVoe, right? So, I don't know. We'll see. It's not a strong pick of mine. I want to mention something about the 1 guys, then we're going to move on. Greenlight, and Paul, you talked about Greenlight to start this analysis. That last field was awful. I mean, awful. Now, again, I know you can only beat who you're beating, blah, blah, blah. Look at the Beyer figures of the horses coming out of that race, guys. I mean, look at their necks. The second place finisher, 11-point buy or drop. The third place finisher 6, fourth place finisher 12. I mean, other than accident, really, I mean, that was a bad field. This is a much tougher field. He's going to be one of the favorites. I know he can win, but guys, he's going to have to prove it to me here. Final thoughts as we move on.
Well, I said it at the beginning, Howard, and I just wanted to give someone like the 8, the Cherie DeVoe and Brian Hernandez in a 5-year sample, 20%, 45 for 222. So they are pretty good. That horse, that horse is a real wild card for me, and a horse I'll definitely be using, perhaps as a B, as in Brilliant Birdie.
Okay. I'm using the 8. I'm using almost every, I mean, it's a complete spread for me, guys. I've got 4 A's, which for me is very unusual. Even Laganos, we didn't talk about, guys, who's had some good runs. I don't know, complete wide open race.
Agate Road's a
Agate Road.
nothing.
I've had enough of Agate Road. He'll probably stuff me no locker this Saturday. But anyway, guys, let's go on. This next race is one of my plays of the day. I love a horse in here. I know Matt Miller will either watching live or hear this later and might use this horse in the Saturday contest like I am. I don't even care if people know, because I know I'm going to get a decent price. It is the Kelly's Landing, guys. And there's a horse that I've been waiting all month to bet here, to be very honest. $250,000, 6.5 furlongs. It is ungraded, but it's a nice field of 8. A lot of familiar faces, wide open morning line board. Morning line favorite is the number 5, Hoist the Gold. Stuart Saez coming off a very tough Met Mile run against National Treasure and etc. Let's see who we're going with here in this race. I am going 7-6-5. Pete's going 6-4-1. Paul's going 4-5-8. Obviously, it's completely wide open. Pete, let's go to you first. This last race that closed the game Sugar ran frustrated the effing hell out of me and Matt Bernier, because we were both trying to beat the favorite, which we did. And then this knucklehead horse for Adam Rice and Irad ran a huge race. Adam Rice afterwards on Fox said, they've always wanted to get this horse like sprinting. And boy, did he run a hole in the wind. I see no reason why he can't run a big race again. I've got him second. You got him on top.
Yeah, I think that race cost me whatever sequence that was, because I think I had Skelly.
Cost a lot of people. A lot of people.
So I was not too happy with that one last time. Has Irad again. I mean, you lost 2 back, and I'm sure you'll talk about the race, but lost 2 back to your horse. But now we're getting third off the layoff. I like the big jump. I know, not everything's about figures, obviously. There was a big jump, I guess, in the last one, beating a pretty tough field. I mean, beating Skelly, who's probably better, at least on paper, than everybody else in this field, and had beaten a bunch of them before. You're getting Irad
my song's
again.
not too bad. Here's the house.
Yeah, no, that was that was a pretty good race going in. I remember. I think we talked about that one.
Yeah.
Adam Rice has been on fire. You see on the board there, 3 out of 7 wins, 6 out of 7 in the money. I thought just could get a similar trip to last time as well. I don't think there's not. This is one of those, like you were talking about the last race, I think, where there's not blazing speed, but there's a few horses who maybe want to be near the top. So you'll see if something funky could happen because of that. And if so, I think Irad, which he's great at, can just sit off the pace here, and you sit right in sort of that spot. Like, I think that's perfect what Time Form has. Sit right off that spot, first over, sort of following Hoist the Gold. And I think just has enough kick, and if can run back to that last race, could be tough. Now, again, you're going, we always talk about this, 18-1 last time. They talk wedding funeral kind of thing. I don't always believe in that, only because you don't know if a horse is just better now. So maybe it was 18-1 and now 7-2, but maybe the horse is just really good now, and you're just going to be getting these low odds from now on. So it's hard to know. I think he needs to follow it up. I didn't like the race. I don't have a strong opinion. So I'll let you talk more firmly. I was sort of all over the place in this one.
Well, Pete, I think you brought up some great points, because I'm like you had 18-1. I don't want him at 3-1 now, but there's a few things that are exceptions as opposed to the rule. This is not like a 7-year-old who exploded out of nowhere, and there's only a lightly raced 4-year-old who clearly wants dirt and could be, how the hell do we know, one of the better spinners of the country by November? We don't really know.
That's
so
the thing. It's only the
gets
third
Irad
race
too.
Yeah.
I mean, this horse is very capable of running another big race, and I think he will sit a good trip. Paul, you're going with Tejano Twist. This horse we talked about a lot. You love this horse. I know you. I only say that because I know you liked him on Derby weekend. Although I think you sort of altered your pick a little bit after you realized maybe he doesn't want 7. But he ran perfectly fine last time. Is he going to get the pace set up? And does he want to go 6.5? And is he as good as he used to be? There's questions to answer. But Paul, I think you actually might get a decent price on Saturday.
Yeah, the answers to your questions are hopefully, I think so, and maybe.
Okay.
Very strong, Paul. Very strong.
Yeah, isn't it, Pete? Is that talk about taking a stand? Huh? You'll hear a lot of that later tonight on network TV. In any event,
I won't.
Yeah,
no, I will not hear that.
I don't. This is kind of how sometimes you back into.
Yep.
I found reasons to not play some of the others. Although now that I hear you like someone that much, I might. I'm thinking Bango. That ship has sailed. And the Churchill record and all that, and he's 7 now. But then I'm thinking, well, Christ, if he's going to be 5-1. Although it's really hard, isn't it hard to imagine Bango going off at a big number at Churchill Downs, regardless of who's in the race, right?
Yeah.
So yes, Tejano Twist is pace dependent. I'm going to need Bejarano to be more aggressive. I will say the last time though, for a horse with his profile, the rail really isn't a great place to be, even at 6.
Yep.
So I'll excuse that to a degree. The horse has frankly, does have back races that would win this race. Now, he has not excelled in really putting them together. But I thought Hoist the Gold, Howard, I think wants to go a little longer. I think Hoist the Gold is more of a 7-8 furlong horse. Close the game, Sugar. I thought he did run well, but I hear you, Pete, but I don't want to get beat by him at 18-1 and then bet him at 3-1 and have him run 4th.
Yeah.
So I usually play Rivet. I've gotten off that train, thank God. And
there's a lot of horses in here that you just play a lot. Like there's a lot of horses.
There are a lot of horses like that. Just I don't like in this
they're all
spot.
just sort of
and I'm going to
in
talk
that
about
same
it.
here. That's how I end up with Tejano Twist out.
All right. Well, let me go to one of my.
Tell us about Encore.
This is my play of the day. It's on the Power Picks. I'll just say it right now. And there's a lot of reasons why, guys. And some of it is because of the other horses. I mean, just real quick. I'm going to do this very quick. This Anarchist, this has to be a prep for Del Mar. It sure looks that way to me. Spankster is not good enough. Rivet is not good enough, in my opinion. Talent Twist, I suppose he can win. I don't think he's good as he used to be. I don't think there's a lot of speed in the race. I agree with you, Paul. Hoist the Gold's probably better a little bit longer, and he's going to be over bet because of the grade 1s, blah, blah, blah. Close the game, Sugar can obviously win, Pete, but again, he needs to prove it to me. Okay, and then Bango, I know someone put in the chat, Rodney put in the chat that Foley said he had a foot issue, but that's what happens with 7-year-olds. He's older. He's fired off layoffs before. I just don't think he's the same, and I'm guessing that he's not going to, run a mid-90s buyer. And all of that combined with one of the worst rides I've ever seen in a long time with 7 Anger with Martin Garcia leads me to this horse. Now, guys, Anger has not won a grade stake, okay? And there's reasons why people can point against him. But I can name about 5 reasons why I like him. I'll be brief. First of all, I like the jockey change, obviously. Number 2, everyone go back and watch that replay. The short comments are ridiculous. It doesn't even mention it. The short comments, which I like actually, because I'll get a better price. Prompt inside fade 716. No, this horse broke like a complete rocket. And I think we talked about this through text, Pete, I think afterwards or something. Yeah. I did with someone. And instead of like batting with Skelly and taking it to Skelly, he took back for no damn reason, Pete and Paul, and then got shuffled and like steadied, and the horse just gave up and he stopped riding him. Look at every race before that, 2, 3, 4 back. He's fast enough. He's got tactical speed. He's got an outside post. There's a lot of horses I don't like in here. And he's got Jose Ortiz. And he likes 6.5. And I'm not sure some of these horses prefer 6.5. And I think I'm going to get a price. Look, I could be completely wrong, guys. I talk about this all the time. This is a major play for me Saturday for all the reasons I said. I just think the fact that he doesn't want a stake doesn't bother me at all. I think this is going to be his time, and I love Anchor, and I'm going to roll with it. That's my final thoughts. Final thoughts for you guys, and we'll move on.
Yeah, I think it's wide open. So why not go for a little bit of a price? Yeah, my only concerns with Anchor were, like you said, was the last race. I hate when multiple things happen and you don't know which one was the cause. Like you said, the trip was weird. The ride was really weird. Off Lasix for the first time in a long time, and it was the first time in stakes. So was it a combination of all of them? Was it just one of those? Was it two of the three? I hate when that happens because you don't know. It's hard to gauge which ones. So that
wait a minute, Rodney. Come on, Rodney. Let's duke it out. 7 is a complete toss. That's what I love about horse racing, guys. But didn't Rodney love like Copper Tax at Ohio Derby last week, if I recall? Didn't he say lone single and Anyway, sorry, Rodney.
Copper Tax
had to bring it up.
Look, ran okay. Yeah.
Paul, that's what makes horse racing great, though, right? We all have our strong opinions. We'll see what happens. He could be right. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, you'll notice Mr. Garcia is not riding him on Saturday, so maybe Mr. Bauer agrees. And it's kind of ironic, Howard, because Martin Garcia he is known as a over-aggressive rider. I remember the race now that you guys are talking about it, and it's like he is just not the type of jockey who typically will do that.
He had great. I mean, he rocketed out of the gate and beat Skelly by like 3 lengths the first 5 steps, and then wrangled the horse back for no damn reason. It's just like, you know what? If you got the lead, why not just effing take it and take your chances, guys? It was. I have no problem with Martin Garcia in general. I just thought that ride was awful. And you guys know me. I'm not that critical of jockeys in general, but that was just mind blowing. Anyway, guys, let's go on to Stephen Foster. This is one hell of a race, and I will say we all have some pretty strong opinions here. You'll find out in just a second. Grade 1, probably the best, along with the Whitney guys, the best handicap race of the summer. It's $1 million, 1.8 miles. It is not an all-star field, but I'd say it's pretty damn good, guys. Morning line favorite, and I'm surprised the morning line's this low, frankly, is First Mission, 6-5. Coxon Drew. Paul, you and I have nice history with this horse, going all the way back to a certain April at Keeneland. Boy, the Grade 1 gamble's been pretty good for this podcast, hasn't it? Grade 1 gamble day between yourself and myself this past year. He's got to deal with Skippy Longstocking on the outside, 5-2. Let's go to our picks right now, guys. We are all in on First Mission here. I'm going 2-4-9. Pete's going 2-9-4. Paul's going 2-7-4. Pete, First Mission. I talked about this horse last year a little bit, if you recall, at the end of the year. He threw a complete dud in the Pegasus. He clearly didn't like the track. Cox said it. I always thought he could be one of the better handicap horses in the division this year. I do think he needs to win this race to sort of solidify that, but he is very good, and he's going great guns at the right time, Pete.
Yeah, you sort of look for a horse like this to maybe take a step forward and put their head above the crowd in the handicap world, because we don't seem to always get that. Sometimes we get a bunch of horses just sort of beating each other up and nobody sort of takes the lead, outside of like Flightline or one of those great horses. But we have a lot of these, but I think this is the one horse that can do it. And yeah, if you just toss the Pegasus for whatever, like you said, didn't like the track, whatever the hell happened that day, this one's just on a really good trajectory up and is tactical, so should always seems to get a pretty good trip, aside from the Pegasus, basically. Always gets a good trip, right in the mix every time. You see from a lifetime buyer top in the last one, lifetime time form top in the last one. So it's just getting better and better and better. And everyone thought this horse was going to be the bee's knees when he was going into the Preakness and last year and everything. So he had some bumps along the way, but maybe now he's just back on track. And if he is, he could just be better than everyone in this field, even though it's a pretty solid field. And we'll get to other horses. I just thought the other horses that I liked all seem like they really need to take a step forward to get to his level. And maybe they will, but he's already there and could still get better from there.
I agree. And, Skippy Longstocking, Pete, we got to give this horse credit because I think
Oh, I love that horse. Yeah.
a lot of people try to beat Safi outside of Gulfstream in Florida. This is one of his horses that really doesn't matter where he runs, and Skippy's getting pretty good. I don't know if he's going to be on the lead. I think it's going to be really interesting. I would not be shocked, Pete and Paul, if First Mission just takes it to him, if he like outbreaks the field. At least I hope he would do that. They also could hook up and set up for someone else, Pete. So this is going to be very much a jockey race as well.
I feel like Skippy, I thought the way I was thinking about the race was the First Mission lets Skippy clear and Skippy gets on the lead, and then First Mission maybe. I mean, again, I don't think First Mission. I don't think they want to get into a duel with Skippy Longstocking.
No,
I think,
probably not.
And Giroux should be smart enough not to do that. And I think Skippy Longstocking has shown a comfortable ability once or twice to be on the lead. You know, it's not totally out of his realm. So I don't know. That's the way I thought about it. But there's other horses in here, I think, who can be close as well. It's a weird race. It's a cool race because of that reason, I think, because the early stages are going to be important, but you're not 100% sure what's going to happen early.
Yeah, but he ran big at Oakland. I mean, really big. But that field was just nothing special to me. So it's going to be really interesting, Paul. The one thing I also liked about First Mission, Paul, especially in the last race, which I was there for in person, it looked like the engines were just getting going. I mean, I always thought distance would be better for First Mission, which is why I think he's a fascinating candidate for a Breeders' Cup Classic as of right now. The breeding says he'll go better longer. He's sort of one pace, but he's got a little bit of acceleration when he needs it. I think Pete's right. He could just tip outside of Skippy and run him down. To me, there's just literally nothing to dislike about First Mission. I know we're going on. He's 6-5. It's not like we're saying anything creative, but he's just really good, Paul, right now.
He is, and he's actually the only favorite I took in the sequence. I went back and looked now. You know, there's a lot of relatively short price, but look at. I think this is the classic race, right? You got to pick one of these two. My play is to use First Mission and go totally against Skippy Longstocking. I will say that even though it's only a 9-horse field, Howard, I do think post position can matter in this race, and I think First Mission is posted way, way, way better than Skippy Longstocking, going 1 1/8 here at Churchill. So, you know, I think Giroux's good. You know, I'm not. Would I rather have Saya still on him? Yes, but you know that's fine. Cox is really high on this horse. I think the Godolphin people are high on this horse. He kind of had his coming out party the day that you mentioned, Howard, when he had that really good effort in the Lexington dueling with playing Dodgem cars with Irad and Arabian Lion down the stretch.
They're Lion,
but that's what really was impressive about it, as we talked about. First of all, the horse coming off the maiden win, he was on the inside, which is a tough spot to be in that scenario, and he outgutted that horse down the stretch. You know, he got nailed on the wire as a favorite in the Clark. I don't know what happened in the Pegasus, but boy, really, it looks to me like this is a carefully plotted out campaign, going from the grade 3 to the grade 2. You know, maybe we see him in the Whitney if this goes well.
Think so. I would think so.
That would be great. That would be really great. We always like seeing our Godolphin friends up in upstate New York. So yeah, I think, but I do agree with you guys, both of you, that Skippy Longstocking, you know, I mean, go back to the dirt mile. That's a pretty damn good looking third right now, isn't it? Behind Cody and National Treasure, the way National Treasure's come back. And then, you know, obviously had an issue in the Pegasus and 2 big wins. So Skippy Longstocking is doing nothing wrong. I think they might be a little closer in odds than the morning line, Howard.
I agree.
Certainly First Mission is going to be the favorite, but I don't know there'll be that type of gap. And I'm going to try to beat Skippy Longstocking. I'm not going to play the two of them together for sure.
Let's quickly talk about the 7 and the 4, Paul, and then we're going to move on to the last race. And we got Emily waiting in the bullpen coming on at about 8:30 Eastern. Kingsbarns, I loved his effort 2 back, and I was all in on him in the Pimlico Special. I was thoroughly disappointed. He just set too slow a pace. He got ran down. I want to like this horse a lot, Paul, but that last race was really discouraging to me. I don't know. But he's talented.
Yeah, I wasn't really counting on him getting caught, Howard, once he took the lead, to be honest with you. It's a third. I picked him where I think he could finish.
Yeah.
He is talented. I'm going back over a year now, but I still have it in my head that training for the Derby last year in 23, he looked as good on the track as any horse I saw in the couple of days I was out there in the morning. I know, you idiot, Paul. It's 13 months ago. Get over it. But anyway, I think he could get a piece of this. That's where I have him.
Guys, I've heard a lot of buzz this week about Disarm. A lot of people like Disarm in this spot. I'm not going to disagree. I've got him second. Pete, that last race was a 3-horse field. It was a complete and utter prep. I mean, he was underratedly good last year. And speaking of Lexington, Pete and Paul, that we just talked about, who finished third in that race, Paul? Disarm against these two. So that's come back a pretty damn good race when you look back at it. Pete, if this horse wins, I would not be shocked. This is a talented horse. It's a big ask, second off the layoff, but it's not like his numbers don't fit here.
No, and he was actually the 3-year-old that was sort of on the improve as the year went on and looked to be getting more dangerous, and then got shut down in August and didn't go to the Classic and didn't progress beyond that. Yeah, that last race is almost just like a toss. It was like a workout. 3 horses. Look at those fractions, 40 from a time form standpoint, 47, 46, 65. You rarely see anything that slow. It was just a paid workout, was 14 cents. The line was 14 cents. You just have to see if he comes back strong. Steve Asmussen, 1 for 20 in Grade 1 route races at Churchill, which, some of those are the Derby, the Oaks, obviously. But still, there's other ones in there, and it's just not his jam winning here. So that swayed me a bit. But I do think Disarm is as much of a contender as anyone else if he can get back to that form and move forward. Again, like with Kingsbarns, you look at and go, well, did he sort of plateau and did he reach his peak? Because he still has to get up to where First Mission and even Skippy Longstocking is. And that's, if you think he can do it, great, but he hasn't done it yet. And he's just sort of middling in that same kind of level at this point.
My personal recommendation to all you listeners and viewers out there is if you're trying to beat the top 2, I would not do it with a Pletcher. I personally would do it with Disarm. Just my opinion. I want to speak for Peter or Paul, but that's just my feeling here, guys. Let's go on to the last race, and we're going to spend a short amount of time out of respect to Emily, and we got to move on. And I hate to do it because it's a really tough race. The Tappen is the last race of the day. It's ungraded, but it's a good one. 3-year-old fillies going a mile on the turf. It's completely wide open, guys. I thought this was the most difficult race of the day.
I was all over. I was all
over.
over.
You could play 9 of the 11. I think realistically, like almost anyone can win this race. The morning favorite is the number 8 Pipsy for Will Walden and Flavian Pratt. Here's our picks on the bottom of the screen. It's so difficult that we're all over the board. I'm going 8, 9, 5. Pete's going 1, 3, 8. Paul's going 5, 8, 11. Guys, let's just talk about our top picks. We'll give our pick 5. We'll let Paul do his rant, and then we'll bring on Emily. Paul, I'll have you go first quickly. What do you like about Poolside with Slim for Rusty Arnold and Gaffleone?
Well, I thought she really put it together last time in the Pen Oaks, which I was happy about for a couple of reasons. One, I bet her. And 2, my friend Patrick.
Clearly the number
Patrick
one
Lewis.
reason. We all understand that.
Yes. We were talking. It's funny. We were talking about this with Patrick Lewis. It happened to be sitting next to his table next to him one night at Saratoga for the Belmont. And they were thrilled to get to Torrey. And they lose him for this race, which is interesting. We'll talk about that when we get to the outside horse. But yeah, I think this horse is improving. However, Howard, to your point, I went 4 deep in a Caveman, which means I'll be about 8 deep in an ABC. I think you got to get some kind of a price in this race, and maybe 5 to 1 isn't even good enough. But I thought that was a good place to start.
Yeah, I hate being wishy-washy on a race, especially the last one where everything matters. If I play a pick 4, pick 5, Pete, I've got 8 of the 11 as A's or B's. That's how crazy.
I have 4 A's, 4 B's, and then
There
the
you
other
go.
3 were
Great minds
tossed
think
for
alike,
me.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah. Tell
I
us
was
about
all
Simply
over it.
in Front, Pete.
This was just one I thought, again, I think they're all sort of the same horse in different ways. Like they're all sort of the same level, but this one, 2 back in the Appalachian, was coming off a pretty lengthy layoff, and I just didn't like the ride. I thought Paco, I'm not a huge Paco on the turf guy, especially coming off the pace. And that horse was just way back, way too far back, got sort of stuck and got shut off a bit trying to close, and was actually making a move and did make up some ground, at least not lengthwise, as you can see, but did make up some ground. Then picked up Saez, who was much more aggressive off a little bit of a layoff again, was much more aggressive against weaker, so had to drop down to get the win, but still got the win here. And I think if Saez can be aggressive from this spot and can just sort of sit a nice pocket trip, I think that's as good a chance as any, because in a race where I think everyone's kind of even, did get a lifetime buyer and time form top in the last one and did it at Churchill. So there's a lot of factors that I think are just good enough to put this horse on the top in a race. I think everybody's wide open.
Yeah, I like the one. Definitely tactical speed inside. I would never bet Pipsy at 7-2, but I would encourage everyone to watch the last replay of her North American debut. I mean, Pratt just sat, and it was one of the most confident rides I've ever seen, and blew by the field at the end. Paul agrees or saw the same thing.
Got underway a little late, didn't he, Howard?
Oh, but boy, when she got her feet underneath her, Paul, wow. I mean,
Yeah.
do I have any idea if she can get the distance? Zero. Kodiak, the sire, is more of a sprinter type. High Shot Peral obviously can go long. I have no idea, but it was so damn impressive. And I just felt like I wanted a fresh face in this race, guys. And when I say a fresh face, I just mean a horse that is not running Kentucky and run against each other like the Dancing and Dixies and the Mofox Givens I was just looking for someone fresh, but again, it's completely wide open. I just don't have a real strong opinion, and I'm not going to BS people at home or you guys saying that I love a certain horse this race, because I just don't. So there you go.
Paul, I think you have the 11 in third. I think that's a cool one to watch. Double digits. Dettori goes to that one, and was one that has been great. It hasn't really done much wrong, and lost to She Feels Pretty, who's a pretty awesome horse, and she was making I think her 3-year-old debut or in the last one, if I remember correctly, and is just better. And I think this horse could be on the improve as well, and does pick up Dettori. The 11 hole was a little scary, but I think just as an improving horse that we don't know what she is yet, I think that's one to watch at 12. I think this could be a race where you can get a price because, again, they're all so evenly matched.
Yeah, I think Frankie plays Catch Me If You Can with this horse, Pete.
Yeah, I think has to get the break though. Has to get the break and has to go. I think that was my only question, and that's why I think I had this one in fourth out of the top 3.
A shout out to TJ Popsit, a new person in the chat. What's up, TJ? Thanks for joining the show. Greatly appreciate it. Don't be a stranger. Guys, I find this comment interesting as we end here. From Race Masters, we all have it wrong. How could that be? We've mentioned every horse.
Every horse, yeah.
Well, we wrong about every horse.
Who's going to win, Race Masters?
By the way, Race Master, we appreciate it, man.
In case my dad's watching, which sometimes he does. He doesn't always watch. He's not the best technology-wise. This is one of his races. He's got the 2 Mo Fox Given. Fox is his dog. And the 3, Catherine Marissa. Marissa is my wife's middle name. So for my pop, if you want to play that,
there
2,
you go,
3.
Pops.
Go with the names if you want.
As far as I'm concerned, Pete, that's the best way to go about this race because
I mean, in this race, who the hell? Why not, man?
Who knows?
Why not?
Let's go. We're just going to mention our pick 5s, guys, and then we'll rant and let Emily come on here. Pete's going 1, 2, 4, 6 with 1, 7, 8 with 1, 4, 5, 6 with 2 singling first mission with 1, 3, 8, 11. That's $96. Paul is going 2, 4, 6 with 1, 5, 7, 8 with 4, 5, 6, 8 with 2 singling first mission with 1, 5, 8. He's using that 11. Pete, $96 on the end. And I'm going 4, 5 with 1, 4, 6, 7, 8 with 5, 6, 7 with guess who? First mission singled with 1, 2, 4, 5, 8, 9 with 0 confidence using half the field, $90. It's a really fun sequence. We want to get Emily on. So Paul, I'm sure you've got a quick rant ready. It is time for
I do.
Paul's rant of the week. Paul, hit it.
And I'm going to go off horse racing if I could, because the NBA draft was the other night. And it's appropriate to talk about basketball as we bask in the 18th World Championship. But speaking of which, Howard, I've grown up in Boston. I've always had a somewhat healthy dislike of the Lakers. However, you had to respect them. Magic, Kareem, Worthy, Michael Cooper, Kobe, even Shaq. To their credit, though, now they have so invigorated my hatred of them with that biggest a-hole of coach firing LeBron, coach firing, son drafting LeBron James, running the show. Oh, and now they hire this punk from Duke who at his introductory press conference is dropping. Have you ever watched a pro sports coach at an introductory press conference use F-bombs? Now, I might use them 7 times in Saratoga on a Saturday, but he's a punk. He's a third grade. His experience is third grade. People who want to make something of the black-white thing and Sam Cassell not getting a sniff with 15 years experience, I'll tell you what, they got a pretty damn good case. But you know what? Hats off to the Lakers. The hatred is no longer healthy. I hope they go 0-82. Redick will be the 7th coach that LeBron gets fired. LeBron leads the world in getting coaches fired. Redick will be the 7th, and hopefully ABC doesn't take him back.
I have a lot of similar thoughts. Yeah, that's how the kids roll these days, Paul. We have to swear now in press conferences because
I agree with everything except the swearing.
That's new school swearing now, right? No class whatsoever. Totally
I like swearing in press conferences. That's the only thing I disagree with. I don't care.
Well, at the proper time, not the introductory one.
Yeah. Right? How about after a game in the heat of battle?
Yeah. I wonder if Emily gets upset and ever
Emily,
swears on
I
her.
bet Emily would swear if she got photoed out.
I don't think Emily does.
Swear.
I don't think Emily would throw profanity on the Hawthorne show after a bad loss, but let's bring her on. Maybe she would. Let's bring on Emily Gullickson from Hawthorne Racecourse. Hi, Emily. How are you doing tonight?
Hi. I mean, I can't believe you guys think I would need some type of excuse to swear. Maybe on the Hawthorne feed, there's a couple names sometimes that have, kind of tripped me up a little bit. But luckily, Jim is sitting next to me to keep me out of trouble.
Oh, for sure. Emily, we got a huge weekend. We're going to let Pete and Paul go. I can't wait to talk about it. We're going to shift gears a little bit. We're not going to talk about the late pick 4 Saturday. We have to talk about the contest and a big race in particular on Sunday. Breaking news, guys, just announced the final last mandatory race of the big Hawthorne Invitational will be a race on Sunday that Emily and I are going to break down in detail. So Pete and Paul, really appreciate it, guys. You have an awesome weekend, and crush your bets, guys, at Churchill. Woodbine's got a really good card also that the Ben and Boozin guys covered. 5 stake races, all graded. So you guys might want to check out Woodbine north of the border also. Pete and Paul, take care, guys. Have a great weekend.
Good night. Good to see you.
Bye, Emily. You too.
All right, Emily.
All right,
Gullickson.
let's get to the real racing now.
Yeah, let's get to the real
racing. Racing has begun.
Emily, what a weekend. This is really exciting. I talked to you guys through email. I talked to Dakota Schultz, director of marketing, today. This is a big weekend at Hawthorne Racecourse, and we've talked about these contests for quite a while now. Anyone that's in the Chicago area or could certainly travel to one of the great OTBs here in Chicago, any opportunity you want, ladies and gentlemen, to be a part of the NHC, one of the biggest contests in the world in Vegas in March, which yours truly is now a 3-time qualifier for, and I have 2 entries already, Emily, so I'm really proud of that. Yeah. This is one of the great tournaments. Nice to get that out
of the way.
Yeah, I've got to get that away. This is one of the great tournaments to do it in. So I'm going to show a banner. I'm just going to let you talk here for a minute about this weekend's first, the Saturday and Sunday $500 Hawthorne contest.
Yeah, so Hawthorne's actually running 3 tournaments this weekend, and the 2 of them that you're talking about are the one day, both Saturday and Sunday, which is a $500 bankroll, no entry fee. So you're betting that $500, keep what you win. And the prizes are excellent for that tournament. There's no cash prizes. Hopefully we can get there someday, but NHC seats, BCBC seats, Pegasus, Keeneland. And then actually on Saturday, there is the opportunity to qualify into the Invitational, which is the Sunday tournament. And what we mean by qualify in is that covers your $2,500 bankroll. So there is maybe a little bit of cash prize there.
I'll be shooting for that as well as the $1 million bonus. So, you know,
the $1 million bonus. There you go. Absolutely. If you're going to be at the NHC, you might as well be playing for $1 million bonus.
Why not?
I mean, you have it. There's so much luck that's required. Just have it. You know, it's so nice. And so there's 2 spots there that'll cover your $2,500 bankroll for the Invitational. And yeah, I mean, it's such a good time. You've been out for the past few years. You might have been out longer than me. This is my 3rd. So it's such a good time. We're going to be back at Crestwood this year, which is a big open space. Everybody's in the same room. We're going to have a lot more lights. One extra host, Mike Somich, is coming out. Mike is amazing. Ed DeRosa is also cool. I like Ed DeRosa. We're good friends, obviously.
That's not bad. He's okay.
That's great. Yeah.
He knows. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, just so everyone knows, Ed is older than me, just for the record, if you weren't aware. But yeah, I mean, just really good tournament players. There's about 60 that have already signed up that are going to be there, plus the couple that we'll bring in, and just really top players. And this will be streamed live on our YouTube channel and all the socials. There we go, the graphic there.
Now, right, this is the one on Sunday. I don't want to confuse people, Emily. So the Hawthorne Invitational that Emily just talked about, which is now on the screen, is invite only. It's 60 of the top players. Yours truly is. I've been honored to be invited for the 3rd year. Last year it was my brother's wedding, Emily, and I couldn't attend, but I'll be there on Sunday. This is different than the $500 contest that we mentioned for Saturday and Sunday. This particular one is invite only. And what's really cool about this, Emily, is it's going to be streamed in a lot of different places, including breaking news I mentioned on this YouTube channel, on the HHH Racing Podcast, as well as I think Racing Dudes, obviously the Hawthorne YouTube channel. There's a lot of places where anyone could watch it live. Yeah. Horse Racing Nation, correct? And
it'll obviously be recorded as well, because if you're doing a million things on Saturday or you've got some other stuff going on, you can come back in and other times, and we'll add chapters and things like that. But it's awesome. We're going to have this year, to anybody that's played the BCBC or kind of followed along with the BCBC, the way that they do the leaderboard online is you can click on the player's name and it'll drop down what they played in that last race if they played. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to have that this year, which will be, you know, for us doing the hosting will be great, because we can actually say, Howard, what's going on here? Or, you know, like, Howard, that was excellent. How did you come up with that, you know, with that try? And we'll be able to kind of follow along with whatever you
I doubt the phrase Howard, that was excellent, will come out of your mouth this Sunday, but let's hope so. That'd be great.
Are we going to bet on that?
I'm betting on myself. I'll tell you that right now. Again, here are some of the names. We're not going to, you know, mention everyone. People can read for themselves. It's a who's who, you know, Hall of Famers. I mean, winners left and right. Some guy named Howard's on there who just got lucky to be invited at the bottom of the screen there. My good friend Brad Anderson, Matt Miller. I mean, Eddie O from last year, the Mustaris, the Chenvrits. I mean, holy cow! If you know anything about contest play, this is a serious group of contest players on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, that's by design. We want, especially since we're doing the live stream and talking to players and getting a lot of good information out there, to just talk to the audience and grow the game and allow people to improve their own personal play. So these are some of the best people. You can come out. It's going to be at Crestwood if you're around. So even if you're not at the Invitational, but you're in the area, it'll be at Crestwood. So you could show up and play the Sunday one-day tournament as well. From the Crestwood
OTB. Now, we have a great audience as usual, Emily, and we got some things I want to dispel and some things in the chat. Let's talk about this first. TC Markham bombed the screen, Emily, our comments. I want to go to the Hawthorne track on Saturday for the contest. You cannot play the contest at the track, correct? It has to be at an OTB.
Correct. You need to go to one of the OTBs. Yes.
Okay, number one. Number two, Jim Pilares, Jim, if you're going to be in town, that's news to me. That'd be awesome. I didn't think you were. He lives in Buffalo. But anyway, how many entries can a player have? Is it limited to one? Of course, we are now talking about this Saturday and Sunday. $500 contest. Again, I don't want to confuse people. Let's
That's
put
two.
the invite
You
to
can
the
have two.
side. You can have
Two
two
on the
gems,
Saturday
correct.
and Sunday. Yeah.
Right. And then Race Masters, this is just not true. I know this is mentioned, but
No.
I want to dispel it, Emily, because it's been brought up. You know, is there a safe way to get the racetrack? It's not dangerous. Cicero it's a fine community. It is, you know, it's industrial. I mean, it's not what Arlington is. It's very safe. I've never had any issues there, Race Masters. I want to mention it, Emily, because there's always, you know, rumors and blah, blah. Just people don't know unless you've been there, right? I mean,
yeah, no, it's fine. I'm there all the time. Thanks for classing up the join. Yeah, I do my best. Yeah, it's a safe area. I have no issues. I'm there all the time, walking around. There's no problem. So, and you know, people said that about Churchill too. And I just went to Churchill Downs, and I don't know if I've like just been in some rough neighborhoods in my life, but I was like, I'm not seeing it here. So I didn't see that with Churchill either. So
no, I mean, look,
you'll be fine. Come visit Hawthorne, support a local racetrack. You'll be safe.
Pimlico, I've heard. I've never been to Pimlico, but anyway, and let's stop talking about bad areas of racetracks. Let's get to it. Okay, so Emily, here's what we're gonna do. It's gonna be great. You can check it out. I think it's 1:30 Central is when it starts.
Correct.
Sunday.
Yes, it's the
Sunday,
start
right?
time.
All
Yeah.
right. So it's gonna be very exciting. Whether if you're interested in horse racing at all, especially contest play, you want to either get involved in the contest itself, or at the very least, watch Emily, Ed, and Mike Samich host a fantastic invite on Sunday, and I'll be competing along with Matt Miller and Brad Anderson for people that are very familiar with this podcast, as well as many other really talented players. Now, we're not going to get into the contest format. I know you talked about that on Spaces tonight, Emily. It's different than your normal live money tournament. It's different than a $2 mythical. There's $250 that are bet on several races, some mandatory, some optional, blah, blah, blah. But the final race, Emily, and this is the big news for everyone, is race 9 as of now. See, I listen, Emily, to Spaces. Race 9 on Sunday is everyone has to bet a minimum of $500 in the invite, which makes this contest absolutely fascinating. I'm going to let you talk about this race a little bit, Emily. And then I actually have the PPs. We'll just go down through each horse very quickly. It starts at 5. Yeah, it starts at 5:54 Central. Again, at Hawthorne Race 9. It's scheduled for the turf. I'll let Emily talk more about that. 7.5 furlongs. That is a distance that they have not been running very much this meet at Hawthorne. Again, I'll let Emily talk about that. The rail is out 10 feet. It's a huge field. I'm just scrolling it down. The Moorline favorite is the number 4, Roar of Silence, a second-time starter for Mickey Goldfine with Julio, who closed decently after a slow start and a main special, and is now dropping down. And you see, again, it's a big field of 11. Emily, whether people are playing in the contest or not, or just want to play Hawthorne in general, let's first talk about the distance and the small to medium possibility that this race might come off the turf and the mandatory race might change based on weather.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the early weather, and anybody that's lived in this area, you kind of take it with a grain of salt. Pretty much, I think everybody at this point, you got to take the weather with a grain of salt. But we're expecting to get some decent rain Saturday morning, and so if that kind of stays true, I think we'd be fine to stay on the grass. Now, if it extends out or it's heavier than expected. If it's just not safe, we're not running this race on the turf. That's the bottom line. So, but the way that it looks now, this course takes water well. If it ends Saturday morning, then Saturday is supposed to be pretty hot and humid, so that'll definitely help it dry up. And then Sunday, not expecting anything. So if there is a surface switch, we'll use race 10. But I'm staying optimistic. Due for some good racing luck. And you mentioned the distance, 7.5. So it starts, it's weird to say that it starts in the middle of the stretch, but it does. But then that first turn is relatively quick. So just keeping that in mind with a full field of 11, because tactics is key. Now, as far as not running many races at 7.5, that's not necessarily by design. A lot of those races have come off the turf. It's just kind of one of those things. But yeah, the rails are out at 10 feet, so plenty of space there for all that field of 11. And yeah, well, I think that this race, is a great last race because it's a full field, and you have a favorite that I think anytime if you're going to approach this race from a handicapping standpoint, especially from a betting standpoint and tournament standpoint, is starting by assessing the favorite, and the favorite being number 4, Roar of Silence, that you mentioned real quick, who's listed as 7-2 on the morning line. So already you kind of have a lukewarm favorite. Now with that, I would even take that one step further and handicap and say, is Roar of Silence going to be the favorite in this race? Because I think there's so many people too that just say, oh, this is the favorite on the morning line. And it's like, you go through your handicap and you're like, there's no way this horse isn't going to be favored. Now the line maker got it wrong. It happens, So assessing Roar of Silence and assessing a favorite can go a lot of different ways. Is the horse legit? Is it a legitimate favorite? This horse stands above the field, checks every box, stands out on speed, stands out on class, form, pace, all of it.
But you didn't just throw Jim Miller under the bus, did you?
I threw every line maker under the bus.
I know, I'm just kidding.
Shots fired. I went after
love it.
all of y'all.
I love it. Who will be the favorite, Emily, in your opinion?
No. I'm saying that I think that this one is, but I'm talking more in a general sense.
Of course.
You have to handicap and then also go through and handicap the public and make sure those two things line up. Is the horse above, right? Like, is it maybe not quite legitimate, but has strong characteristics? Then you can get into the negative spectrum, right? Where if a favorite is vulnerable, if you are saying those words, the favorite is vulnerable, that should be a horse that is not on your tickets anywhere. That's what that combination of words mean. So that's very limited. Now you could say the favorite is weak. You could say the favorite is no value, where, yeah, the favorite makes sense, but I'm not playing Roar of Silence at 7-2. Maybe I'll use it in like the pick 4 if I like some, some other shots or whatever. So I think that's really the place to start. Then in second place, once you kind of made that assessment, whether you think, what you're going to do with the favorite, is now try to decide how many of the horses in this field can I eliminate? How many of the horses in this field can I eliminate from completely 1, 2, 3, 4 spots? They're not going to be anywhere. How many horses can I eliminate from 4th? How many from 3rd? How many from place? How many from a contender? And then when you start getting through that noise, now you're like looking at something that you could start building bets around. But I don't think people kind of go through that process a little bit. And it's pretty standard. It's not like I'm like making this, I didn't come up with it. I don't know what that means. Those are things that are just going to kind of clear out some noise, clear out some of the clutter, clear out some of the chaos, and that'll help kind of structure your bet. So I think this is the type of race where that process can really help players.
What's really interesting to me about this last race from a betting standpoint, and in the contest, you can do win, play, show, exacta, try, super. This is a wide open field, and I'm very curious to see, Emily, if people are just going to gun it and go all in on one particular horse they like, because you're going to get, I'd say, minimum 5-2, 3-1 on the choice, or people are going to be a little more risky, more risk averse, or not risk, less risk averse, and try to hit like a try, which in theory should be fantastic with its payout because it's such a difficult field. If people are further behind, do they play more of the try, or exactas instead of a straight win bet? It's just, the strategies can be very interesting because it is a wide open field. It's not like you can cold punch an exacta you're very confident about, because I just don't see any real confident exacta you could play in this race, at least not in my opinion. So it's going to be very interesting to see what people do. Now, Emily,
the other part of that is, before we start going through the field, is in a tournament, it also comes down to what you need, not what you like. So you might not be able to handicap and say, oh, I see a combination that is, that I love this horse over that. But you might say, hey, this combination is 40-1. I only have $500.
Sure.
I need that to get there, right? Because if you have $500, $500 win bet on 7-2 might be the win, might be the right answer, but it's not going to get you the win. I doubt this tournament is going to 1750 is going to,
I might be mistaken. Is there no show betting, Emily? I'm sorry if Jeff Adams
there's no show betting.
I apologize. No. Okay, no show betting. Yeah. But there is exacta, try. I think Superfect is.
No, I don't think Supers. No. Yeah, I think we stop at try.
I'm getting confused with the Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, those ones you can do whatever you want.
I'm sorry,
you
my
can
bad.
Play
All right.
super high fives, whatever.
I suppose I should review the rules for Sunday, which I'll do. Okay, Emily, let's do this because we got like literally eight minutes left. There's a big national event happening, of course, and I want to get out of here for people that want to watch that. Here's what I do. Let's alternate like we're in the Prado Hole. Let's just alternate between one horse and next. We'll talk for 30 seconds about each horse if that's okay, and then we'll end the show. I'll go ahead and start. I know I didn't prep you for this, but you're a professional. You could handle it.
I'm ready. Yep.
The number one, Skip to Bali, just looks really slow. There's a small amount of turf breeding. I suppose if you want to take a flyer and use this one, like in third in the try, but I just blinkers on from the rail. This might be a send. I don't see it at all. But look, I suppose there's worse bombs you could have. Gal in My Kitchen, Emily, very interesting. The number 2 horse.
Just real quick on Skip to Bally. I think they are going to send because it's a horse that doesn't take kickback in those races. So I think that's part of the move in the turf and the inside. Get Out of My Kitchen. The thing is, you could look at the speed figures and say this horse has run some of the higher numbers in this field. It's one of the more established, but has also come up short without much excuse in those races. So one of those horses that is a little bit less reliable at one of the shorter prices, but has run some of those higher figures.
And it's got some turf breeding, but I have a feeling...
I mean, she's run on the turf.
Yeah, she started her career on the turf. She's going to be a popular play, I think, for a bunch of people. I'm going to be a little bit of against for the reasons. I also don't like the 0 for 18. I just have a feeling, Emily, that even though it's a cheaper race, and it's a short run to the first turn, to me, that tells me there's going to be more speed than normal because the horse on the outside either have to take back or gun. And even like at Gulfstream going 7.5, people are like, oh, it's going to be a speed. I bet if you look at 7.5 furlong races in general on the turf going 2 turns, I bet closers win more than people think for the reasons I'm saying. So I'm going to try to find a horse that can close. It might not be easy. The number 3, Mulsanne, is an Irish bred. The one race actually has 12 races on the turf. The last one, not very good. This is a 6-year-old mare that has not won. I would never, ever, ever use this horse on top, but I might use underneath in a trifecta. You're smiling. I think you want to say something, Emily, about this horse.
No. It just had many tries. Really, the horse, like if you go all the way back, those turf races would make her competitive.
Yes.
But the real question with her is, since coming back from that layoff in April, what horse she is. And I'm kind of with you. She hasn't shown enough. Yeah.
Roar of Silence. If held a gun to your head, Emily, and you had, let's say you had, $4,000 in your bankroll, would you feel comfortable putting $4,000 to win on Roar of Silence to win the invite on Sunday?
No, I wouldn't. No, I think that this horse, I'm not wouldn't say vulnerable. No, not necessarily a toss. The debut broke slow, made a move, but the overall visual suggested this is a horse that needs this class drop. So I think all of that makes a ton of sense. They're coming back in 2 weeks. Julio Felix has been riding this turf course, absolutely lights out. All that is positive. And mentioning the debut because she did break slow, you never know if on the second start shows a little bit more, especially with Julio Felix, a rider that can definitely put horses into the race. So not a horse I would use like on a win bet, but I'm not negative on this horse. It would be, for me as a favorite, I would call it a no value category.
I would agree. I think he's one of the more likely winners, but you might not want to take a relatively short price on her. Molly's Temple is lightly raced, so there is upside, but it's just very darn slow right now. I don't like her at all. I'm not going to be using her probably in any way, shape, or form. A Wahida of Mardan. I'm sorry.
I'm going to do these two. I'll do these two real quick. Molly's Temple, I do like. I love the progression pattern, improving with each race. Looked like a turf horse going back to last year at FanDuel. The race last out, finally got on the turf, or got to stretch out on the turf. Was a little bit fractious in the gate coming off the layoff, but the June 9th race was sneaky good. She was one of those horses that lost her race before it started, was just kind of real fractious beforehand, and had some trouble at the start, showed a lot more run in that running line and finishing position. Suggest if it's one of those, it's worth kind of going back and watching the replay on, can definitely move forward. Now, as far as Wahida of Mardan, has been entered a couple times. Going back to 2023, was actually entered to run on the turf, and obviously something went awry. Now was entered just back on June 15th. scratches in the gate. It was a late gate scratch at 31-1, and you can see that gate works in. So she had to school since the gate. It's still a pretty tough task having to go 2 turns first out, though I do respect that this is what the connections have wanted to do. Hernandez was named for that debut back in 2023. Rachel Slavinsky was named 2 weeks ago, and Olaf Hernandez is back aboard. So there could be some intent there.
By the way, Dakota's in the chat. What's up, Dakota? Superfectas are allowed in the Invitational, by the way. Just let everyone know.
Yeah, we all need to read the rules. Okay.
Yes. I want to just preface, I have not watched all the replays I wanted for this race yet because I just found out this was so I'm going to be deep diving, obviously, the next 48 hours, Emily. WGO Best of Times, I'm very interested in. I don't know what price I'm going to get. I have a feeling this horse is going to take some money. I like the breeding. She's only 3. It's her second start. The connections are well meant. I'm going to take a real close look at WW Best of Times. My gut feeling, Emily says this will be the wise guy horse and be like 5-1, but I don't know. We'll see. Possession, Emily, go ahead with Possession. Would you get a few more left? We got to wrap it up.
Yeah, Possession sneaky. I thought Possession looked like a turf horse at the Churchill race. Was surprised they showed up at Hawthorne on the turf. Like that move. I was a little bit concerned about class at the maiden special weight level. She looked a little bit outclassed, so taking the drop. I think Possession is very sneaky in here.
Babe in the Woods, again, only 1 start on turf. 3-year-old has every right to improve. Was a very slow race and was in that same race that you already mentioned. There are red-coated figs, which means she was up close to a fast pace and is by Ken Thorough. So I'm assuming she's going to try to show some speed. This feels like a very tough spot to me. I think 6-1 would be an underlay for sure. I think she should be much higher than that. Safe Cracker Sue, Emily, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's some progression. She has some numbers that are quick back at Oaklawn Park that would translate to make her fast enough. As far as the race back on June 9th, that common race made a really positive physical appearance. There was no real excuse in trip, but just kind of one of those that maybe is racing into shape. Has had some excuses back in some of those Oaklawn Park races. You could maybe make the case that you haven't seen the best from her, but she's still going to have to get a little bit quicker and you'd want some price compensation.
Lightning Melly 15-1. Again, the further you go to the outside, the more I dislike a horse in this kind of race in general. Does have some back numbers, especially at Remington. That 77 time form 50 buyer would actually win this race in a main special. This is a horse I'm going to take a good look at, watch the replay. I generally speaking negative this kind of horse, but maybe underneath at a price would be a little bit interesting. So Emily, this is a really interesting race. It's a great race to end the invite if it happens that way. Real quick, if it's not this race, I think you said the next race would probably be the closing race, race 10, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Any final thoughts as we wrap up the show, Emily, on what's going to be a really exciting weekend at Hawthorne?
I think that settles it. It's going to be awesome. Looking forward to it. Hope everybody checks it out and brings their comments.
Yeah, and make sure you watch. Again, Emily, last time mentioned where can people watch the Hawthorne Invite tournament on Sunday, and remind everyone of the time, please.
Yeah, so we're going to start at 1:30 local time, so that's Central Time, 1:30 p.m. Central Time. Lots of ways to watch. Hawthorne channel on YouTube. You said you're streaming it.
Yep.
Horse Racing Nation is streaming it. I think Racing Dudes are going to also stream it. So a lot of platforms there, as well as on social media too. So if you can, I think that's kind of good on X or whatever you're on, just because you can open the window and still kind of keep it going without having a bunch of tabs open. So lots of ways to watch. And then you can go back to the Hawthorne channel and check out the replay.
Awesome. Well, we wish everyone great luck. Please play the Saturday or Sunday $500 contest, and you make your mark and make your way to Vegas and win a spot in Vegas or win a spot Saturday for the Hawthorne Invite on Sunday. For all my co-hosts, Pete, Paul, Emily, thanks for joining us tonight. This has been Howard Kravitz, episode 359 of Picks and Ponies. Crush your bets at Churchill, Woodbine, and especially any Hawthorne contest. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This is a big try for Sports. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.